Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and today I want to show you this insane, more than 2-hour pass rally with Tariq ibn Ziyad and Pakal against Zeno Flavius, which, for the record, I thought that we were very much disadvantaged in this situation, but we were like, man, just freaking run it anyways, and let's see what happens. Then it turned into like a 2.5-hour pass rally. I don't know, we could look at the report and see the exact time, and the numbers on this report, I mean, I probably put them in the thumbnail, but they're pretty freaking huge for the losses on both sides. So what I want to do in this video is just kind of give you a sampling, show you what it's like to actually watch this rally unfold. And although we may have the benefit now of seeing the report on the thumbnail to know how it all turns out, keep in mind that at the time this was happening, we genuinely had no clue how this was going to go. Both sides were doing absolutely massive skill damage as we were battling for this pass, slugging it out with 160,000 skill damage, really hitting both sides, which is insane. The Flavius does big skill damage. The Tariq ibn Ziyad does huge skill damage. There were multiple counter rallies that launched. In fact, I mean, every 5 minutes, a new counter rally was hitting the rally, and we had different strategies for dealing with it. So I'll go through all of the things in this video that I thought were good takeaways, things you could learn, and then afterwards, we're going to get a look at the report. There's going to always be timestamps in the description, so you can jump ahead if you want to, but what I really would encourage you to do is try to figure out, as you watch this rally, which side is winning. When we look at the white damage numbers, this represents the normal attack damage and the counterattack damage. And being able to do this assessment, by the way, is really important if you want to figure out if you're going to get a good trade or not before the rally is even ended. Or, more importantly, should you even cancel the rally? So if we look at those white numbers, as I was describing, this represents the normal attack damage, counterattack damage. That is the damage I am directly dealing to the pass, and the damage that I am dealing back to the pass because they are hitting me, okay? They are about even, and they jump up and jump down periodically based on things that are happening. I have a Ring of Doom. They probably have a Ring of Doom. They've also, I think at some point, put a captain in there that had the Takeda support skill. The fourth skill were in a Heroic Anthem KVK, which would reduce the normal attack and counterattack damage taken periodically. So there's really kind of a lot going on here that made it very hard to assess. I kind of felt like they were maybe on the winning end of that, but here you can see, boom, and until a Takeda counter rally rolls in, they try to swarm the rally. This was actually pretty crazy. I think periodically tap on the rally so you can see exactly how many troops are in there. So although that stupid emoji option is on the screen, which I get why it's there. I'd rather, my shop be clean here. I wanted you to be able to see exactly how many troops are in the rally, and the fact that we could handle being swarmed 28x with a Tariq ibn Ziyad Pakal and make it through that, and this rally is still going. Now, a sane kingdom might have canceled here and said, why would you run this through? But in 254, I mean, we sent out a message that's like, we will not cancel rallies. You just run the rally until you break them. And that's the policy. You set the rally, you trust your rally leads, you fill that damn rally until the garrison breaks. Okay? And in this KVK, where, look, the way that things have unfolded, like, I don't think there's a world in which the kingdoms that are here can emerge victorious. So we can kind of do whatever we want. We can be pretty reckless. I think, is it a good policy to just run rallies until you break the garrison? If you trust that your rally leads know what they're doing, okay, and that they've selected the right gear, if they selected the right civilization, which I'm going to talk about how I didn't do that, if they've done all the optimizations, then I guess you can just run it down. That's what we're doing here. I personally suggested several times, are you sure we shouldn't just cancel? We could run a Gilga Henry and just kind of crush this thing. But no, we didn't. Now, there's another reason why we didn't cancel this. Because during this 2.5-hour plus pass rally, we actually dropped a fort at the other pass owned by this kingdom. And this was just a huge distraction. So we could build that fort, take that pass over there, which they did, and then they marched all the way over to this pass to clear out their open field presence, and then we take the pass. That's how this ultimately goes down, which is kind of cool. So although we could have launched a double rally on this particular pass, we said, nah, just run it down, man. Although we could have set probably a better rally, we were like, dude, you're keeping their attention here. The second you cancel this rally, they are going to take the 5 minutes that's necessary to port over to the other pass, clear out our fort, and then come back here. You just have to keep the pressure on. So that's what we did. We kept the pressure on. Tariq ibn Ziyad with Pakal. Now, I will say, I also ran a Tariq plus Sargon the Great rally. That will be in a different video. So if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, you're definitely going to want to do that because the videos coming out over the course of the next week or so are absolutely freaking lit. Okay, they're really awesome. But we wanted to keep them locked in here. And we wanted to keep this nice and steady. And I think the Pakal really does its job as being something that you cannot swarm. And when I show you this report, you are going to see that the first time they sent a counter rally against this rally, they swarmed with it big time, and it freaking hurt. And this earlier in the video was like the only other time where they tried again to swarm out the rally because the damage dealt to the swarmers is insane. Pakal does a couple things. He reduces the damage taken by the rally dramatically, and he elevates his own counterattack damage whenever he does a skill cycle. So it really hurts to swarm this rally, especially because we are able to keep this thing really full, which is another kind of advantage, I suppose, of having the mindset that like we're just going to run these rallies until we break the enemy, because people know that they are just here to fill. They need to fill the thing and fill the thing and fill the thing until we win. And they bring lots of marches by the pass of different sizes to get in the rally until the job is done. Now, the other thing I really want to call your attention to as we try to figure out who is winning this exchange is to look at the skill damage numbers. And there's a couple things that make this really tricky to try to figure out. Besides the fact that there's all this swarming going on and AoE damage and rallies and all this stuff going on, try to look at what the garrison is doing and what the rally is doing to figure out who's winning, and it's really tough. And there's two reasons, actually several reasons for that. One is that it's hard to gauge the speed with which active skills are being used. So even if the numbers were looking even, you got to keep in mind that the rage rate of both of these garrisons might not be the same. By the way, I'll call out that periodically throughout the rally, it's very important that you clear out the folks that have low marches. The reason that we're doing this is you don't want the rally to cap on the number of people that can be in it. There can only be 100 people in the rally. So generally, people are doing a good job themselves of getting out of the rally. But the other reason you want to kick people out that are below 1,000 troops remaining is that it kind of is an encouragement to them that like, hey, consider getting back in the rally with a fresh march because you're not in the rally anymore, you know? Sometimes people, they join the rally and they just sit there. I'm not saying those people were, but I'm just saying, you know, I certainly have been guilty of that at times. Oh, and by the way, here we take the pass. So the skill damage numbers are hard to assess because the rate of rage is different. And also there's so much damage over time going on. Zeno does damage over time. Flavius does damage over time. Of course, now that we've got this pass, right, the chaos really begins in earnest. I really wish I had more footage of our folks crawling all the way across the map to make this pass capture possible. They literally walked from like one side of the zone to the other. I'll show you on the map in just a minute. I just want to show you a little bit of this chaos, though, after we sort of surged through the pass and attacked from both sides. And you're going to see a bunch of flags getting swarmed. And I mean, it's, you know, chaotic as you might expect after a pass capture, after such a long period of time. We weren't quite sure how long this was going to run for, but let me just jump you now, okay, into the report. So for those of you wondering where this took place, here we are on the Q7 HMB Alliance territory here. We actually built these forts all the way on the 2K doorstep. So we dropped people in with a fort, okay? And we literally did a fort drop over here, all the way on this part of the zone. So I feel like they could have built out and taken this down. I think they tried, but were unable to. And so We got a fort drop over here. Then we put another fort down after we had some more flags down. And we built up around this pass. They also had built up some stuff around this pass as a buffer. But once we had this Q7 fort down, we were able to touch the pass, and then we were rallying. As I was describing, we also swung in on the other side. So while that was happening, we fort dropped over here. This TR fort was a drop. And that drop happened in part because, as you saw in my live stream, we had an SW fort over here. We had a little bit of territory by that point. Not all the territory you see here. That happened overnight. But then they were able to use kind of this distance to get this fort down. So we had no territory exactly on top of the fort, but we built this fort on 2K's doorstep while rallying the other pass. So kind of the rally we had running was just, I don't want to call it exactly a distraction, but I mean, it kind of was a distraction while this could build. Then they took this pass. Then they marched all the way across the zone, all the way across the zone. They literally had marker after marker going all the way across the zone to start to pressure the other side of the pass. And when they got there is when the pass ultimately fell. So it seemed kind of, I don't know, in some ways anticlimactic when the pass went down, but it was a pretty sort of dramatic 3-hour event to get to the other side of the pass, start to clear it out and capture this thing. Enough rambling. You're really here for this one thing. It's the report. And the report looks, by the way, well, it's in the thumbnail probably. It's a little bit spoiled. But try to guess which side you think was winning. I really wasn't sure. I thought we were losing. And we were losing very slightly. 24,351,000 to 23,800,000. As far as long-running rally reports go, this is actually in the realm of what you consider to be kind of even, although they did get a little bit of edge here, obviously, on the deads. We do need to now look at what happened on the swarming. Now, their pass also got swarmed a bunch. People accidentally target the pass. So I don't want to give the impression that there's not both sides with some really like wicked swarm stuff going on, because once you see this swarming, you're going to be like, oh my God, what the hell happened here? Watch what happens, okay? 35,000 to 137,000 on the swarmers. Now look at this. Some people are swarming, getting deads. That is how savage it is to swarm a Pakal. This is also true of Attila Takeda, and all of like the Attila and Pakal variants cause this kind of damage. 65,000 deads for this person swarming, and this is like 20,000 to 157,000 swarming. Here's 35,000 deads, 25,000 to 142,000. Here's another 51,000 deads. So you get the idea here, and this report goes on for ages. Here's another 61,000 deads on swarming. 3,000 deads on swarming, another 3,000 deads. So these are people who probably had empty hospitals, but they go from, empty hospital to, look at this, one march, getting 221,000 Sev wounds. I mean, you can't swarm a Pakal rally or an Attila Takeda with like more than 3 marches if you don't either back off fast or gem your hospital. Like you're just going to get deads. Another 8,000 dead, 1,000 dead over here, 40,000 dead over here. So swarming this thing is just absolutely disgusting. And our counter rallies also did some pretty serious work on their counter rallies. But that's all just Sev wounds. And in general, when I look at reports, like I'm going to be honest, I know there are folks that like look at the Sev wounds and they're like, whoa, Sev wounds. Personally, all I really care about is the dead troops. Because, yeah, resources are definitely limited. But in a lot of ways, like, yeah, I mean, you can get more resources, Speed ups, however, are a much harder commodity or more expensive commodity to come by. And so that's really what I kind of look at is just where are the dead troops at. So this goes on for a very long time. And I suppose we can try to make it to the bottom of this report. I really wish they had a little scroll bar showing you exactly how far along you were, because the amount of swarming here is kind of nutty. Now, there were some swarmers that went even. Obviously, some swarmers here did not. 18,000 to 200,000. I mean, you really don't want to be swarming with 228,000 troops. Let me just put this out there. Like, if you're not swarming with at least 380,000 troops, you should reconsider your choices. Okay. This, by the way, is a counter rally. This is 140,000 sevs to 118,000 sevs. As we continue down this report, I mean, geez, we're going to look at the troop buffs in just a minute. And I want to talk about a few things that I really did wrong. And It was really actually one big thing, and we'll get to that in just a minute, where I feel like I could have made this trade better quality, and I kind of regret that choice. So, yeah, I want to get to the bottom of this report. I'm kind of committed now. Here we had someone with their hospital full, which is kind of nutty. 3,000 dead for us. So this thing ran for so long. I mean, people were getting full hospitals. Here's somebody who swarmed the rally, I guess very briefly. I think they were trying to fill the counter rally. 43,000 troops in here, and they swarmed the Pakal. 30,000 deads. Okay. More deads for us. So that definitely somebody with their hospital full here. Bit of a bummer. Cruising on down. Yeah, that same person's getting deads over there. A lot of people swarming the rally. Absolutely insane. I really should have done the math, perhaps, on like totaling up everything in this particular report. The sevs on both sides. But again, I'm not really interested in the sevs. It's all about these dead troop numbers. 35,000 dead over here. That's really where it's at. So I think we can safely say the Tariq ibn Ziyad Pakal rally is extremely difficult to swarm. That's for sure. Here's a Attila Nevsky rally. 228,000 for us, 282,000 for them. So just the counterattacks of this rally that we had traded positive against their counter rally. Now, granted, I'm sure we were swarming that, right? We swarmed a lot of those. So it's not exactly a fair assessment of how that's going. I also don't really know why they're one-trooping. I don't think this works anymore. And in fact, I mean, they can keep one-trooping if they want to. When they one-troop like this, the developers made an update, I thought. In fact, I'm quite confident, that makes it so that if your march is like not still alive or something, then the debuffs don't apply. Like you have to actually survive the turn for the debuffs to apply. This march obviously did not survive the turn, so they're trying to Tommy debuff the rally, which used to be a really powerful technique. But not only does Pakal shrug off debuffs periodically, but also Tariq ibn Ziyad, when surrounded, does more active skill damage. So I'm pretty sure this entire time they were just like super buffing the rally, which is like fine with me. I mean, there's not that many times that they hit with a one troop. Like you can only do that so fast, but they were buffing the rally. 85,000 dead over here. This is a counter rally. Both sides had deads in the counter rally, which is kind of nuts. I want to get to the bottom of this report, man. I'm committed. If you're not interested, just use the timestamp and we can look at the stats. We can get to some of the learnings here. But, I mean, at this point, it's just counter rally after counter rally. Look at this. This is like back-to-back counter rallies. 161,000 to 246,000. 317,000 to 278,000. 326,000 to 293,000. I mean, this is like counter rally after freaking counter rally. And for the full duration of the rally, every 4 minutes, they were setting a new rally. As soon as the one broke, they had a new rally leader set a different one. And then it would launch, right? Another counter rally. Ooh, that's pretty brutal. Attila Takeda not looking so hot. 411,000 to 615,000. Another Attila Takeda, 817,000 to 985,000. Some of these we let run long. We weren't sure if their counter rally was actually just buffing us. 192,000 to 165,000. That's because, again, Tariq ibn Ziyad has his skill damage go up, and Pakal makes it so that we mitigate more damage. 568,000 to 687,000. Plus, Pakal is clearing off his, the debuffs they apply anyways every 10 seconds. 705,000 to 622,000. And, I mean, we're still going. This is actually still happening. It gives you a sense of the magnitude of like a 2.5 to 3 hour rally, right? Like what really goes on there. It is a lot. And I'm going to get to the bottom of this, quite literally. We're getting to the bottom of this report, man. What else do I feel like I would have done differently here? I mean, oh, wow. Swarming with 198,000 troops. As I said earlier, don't do this. You get absolutely raffle stomped. 300,000 troops? Oh, okay, pushing the limits of what you should swarm with, really. I would say probably don't. 350,000 troops, that's where you want to be, at least. Swarming with a Trajan Mulan, oof. Yeah, that's gonna hurt. Technically, both Trajan and Mulan apply a damage taken debuff. There it is. We got to the bottom. Hallelujah. let's look at the troop buffs and look at how insane this is. Well, that's a little disappointing. They don't even have them in here. The report was too long. But what they do have is the Belisarius support skill on both sides. They have the ever-changing tactics on this particular garrison, which is 20% increased skill damage, which I think is a good choice. I think in hindsight, if I were running this at Rally again, I don't know that I would say that the 40% attack and 30% defense is superior. Keep in mind that 40% attack is insane. And we do get shields. Pakal does a shield, so that flips it over to defense periodically. That is insane. But I feel like the 20% skill damage is probably better. I think that's probably the case. I'm not entirely sure because, again, 40% attack is huge. That increases your normal attack damage, your counter attack damage, and your skill damage. But we do have a lot of attack already, and I think we can just safely assume that their garrison is using meta stuff. Periodically, they swapped into a less impressive garrison captain. I did notice that, and at the start of the video, you saw those hits for 170,000. I'm pretty sure they had a backup captain in, and I could tell every time the backup captain came in, I was like, man, get out your popcorn, because that garrison is taking big damage. But overall, here's what I would change. So the first thing I want to talk about is holy sites. And one of the challenges of being in a big kingdom is that you've got to split up some really powerful combat shrines with a bunch of different alliances. So this particular holy site does 3% troop attack. There's another holy site that does, I think it's like 3% defense and health. But the shrines that are in Home Kingdom are really powerful. And I think it's correct to split them up. Now, this is actually a really nice shrine. It's healing speed. So technically, when you're open field fighting, you really want to be in the alliance that has the 20% healing speed boost, because that's a big deal. And I often don't even pay attention to that, but I probably should. Here's 3% defense and health. So, I mean, there's at least 9% of stats, maybe even more as we cruise around these different holy sites, that if you group them up into one shell, you'd get more stats. Rallied army attack. That's a nice one. Another 5% here. These are actually kind of minor compared to the thing that I think is actually more important that I kind of regret. And, you know, as this was happening, Teddy said, Chisgule, you probably going to regret this, which is that I was Viking. And I should have been Egypt, or I should have been Arabia. And I know I had said in a previous video, I'm like, man, I'm going to rally all the things. But once I saw how they were positioned defensively, I was like, am I going to rally at all during this KVK? I'm actually not sure. So I went with Viking because I didn't think I was actually going to get to do much rallying at all. And I was pleasantly surprised that they did garrison a bunch of stuff. But once I realized I was going to get to set a rally or two, I absolutely should have switched to Arabia or Egypt. And even though neither of those civilizations gives you a boost for infantry specifically, I have so much freaking attack already that 5% more attack is honestly not even all that noticeable. I mean, it's good. And more stats it's more stats. Like, that's good. But 5% all damage is much better. And I've talked in the past how once you get the Zig, which gives you 3% more damage dealt and 3% less damage taken, that it really changes dramatically the nature of the trades. Once I realized that, like, hey, 5% over here is not that different from the 6% over there, I was like, oh yeah, I really needed to be either Egypt or Arabia. So I think my big takeaway is that if you think you are going to rally at all, if there's any chance, you need to be one of these two civilizations. It really sucks there's not an infantry rally civilization. I genuinely hope that in 2023 they fix this so that, you know, infantry have something nice too. Infantry don't get a city theme in KVK, Season of Conquest. We don't get a civilization for rallying, okay? I would really like a rally civ for infantry, but I'm an infantry specialist, not simp, a specialist. So, you know, I'm a little biased there. But I should have just swapped to one of these, and that would have been a big deal. So, takeaway for your rally leads in your home kingdom. If you're joining a rally, the only acceptable choice here that's not Arabia or Egypt would be if it's archers. I suppose it could be Ottoman. If they're also like garrisoning and rallying, like 5% skill damage and 5% health is pretty good. But you should really insist that your rally leads be either Egypt and Arabia. And there is one other thing that I'm so glad this popped up on screen because I actually forgot, in the last hour or so of the rally, we were like, hey, wait a minute. Do we have counteroffensive available? And we did, and we popped this buff. So this is another 10% defense. So it really is remarkable how many ways there are to stack all these stats. I think if we had, if I had switched civilizations, that trade would have been in our favor. But at the end of the day, a trade of that magnitude, I would qualify that as roughly even. And I actually am surprised that ended up roughly even, because you remember from my Tariq Ibn Ziyad testing that we felt like Xenoflav was a good answer. It was a good answer to the rallies that we were running there, to the Tariq rallies. Like, you don't want to rally into that if they have the Flavius. You should just rally archers. So the fact that infantry can rally at all here, I think, is actually still a great learning. So you can go roughly even with infantry. So this means that with Tariq Ibn Ziyad and either Pakal or Sargon, you can rally into any YSS garrison you see. You can rally into any cavalry garrison you see. And I think you can safely run into any infantry garrison you see, although archers will get a better result, and you should let an archer rally lead go and do that instead. And I will say, I did offer a bunch of times, like, should I cancel and just let an archer player, like, take this thing to the finish line? But no, we couldn't cancel, as I said earlier, because if we canceled, they would have just ported over, popped our fort drop, and then came back over to the pass. So we had to keep the pressure up. That's what we did. If you enjoyed this video, do me a huge favor. Throw a like on here and consider subscribing. Let me give you a couple reasons why you want to be subscribed. In this coming week, I'm going to have footage of my city getting rallied. Not once, not twice. I think it was like 4 times, maybe 5 times. And these were some big freaking hits. Also, I got a report of Tariq Ibn Ziyad with Sargon against this garrison that you just saw. And woo, the skill damage is really good. And the result was really good too. So subscribe so you don't miss out on that. And if you want to see the live stream where a bunch of this stuff that I'm teasing went down, that'll be in the end screen right over here. This particular rally happened after hours. But if you're looking for some of that testing with Tariq Ibn Ziyad, I'll have a card in the end screen up top over here for that as well.